My learning phase. What helped? Well, I like to say that I arrived at a very busy time in the history of the MBMC, the Matarino Bay Management Council, and the 4 collaborating municipalities. There were plenty of learning opportunities because of the activities which were organized then by the EU project, which was funded through the Center of Empowerment and Resource Development. What would I have done differently next time if I had an opportunity? Well, I was thinking that perhaps I should seek to understand colleagues' professional development. Because when we come here as volunteers, what happens is we find that our CVs has been circulated around, but we don't know the CVs of our colleagues. So perhaps I would have come in and asked my friends, what have you done, and stuff like that. I should have also worked much more with the colleagues from the other departments, because mostly I was working with my municipality agricultural office colleagues. So perhaps if I had a chance, or I hope the next colleague will come in, they should work across the board. That's what I would have done if I had an opportunity. And perhaps the last thing I would like to say is that I think that the next time I should have taken more time forming personal relationships. For those who know about my story, I think it should be better that when you come to a new community, take time to have new relationships so that you understand the embarrassment and stuff like that. What projects, field experiences, research work did I find most fulfilling? Well, as I mentioned earlier, we had the opportunity to do quite a number of projects with the assistance of the municipal agricultural officer. When I arrived here, we kind of came up with an idea of a concept called Kinapondan Upland Resource Development Program. We formed a technical working group with the colleagues from the Department of Agrarian Reform and colleagues from SSU. And we came up with a technical working group where we set up meetings and identified projects together with stakeholders from DNR, from the province, and etc., etc. And we came up with these projects, which we sent proposals to VSO Philippines, through SPARC, and I'd like to say thank you to Chris because we managed to get some of the funding to implement things like barangay development planning, commodity flow surveys, which was conducted through coordination with students from Leyte State University. We did some organic farming training for farmers. Now, the success factors of the department and the municipality of Kinapondan. One, people are ready to collaborate with other organizations. You can see already Kinapondan is collaborating with the VSO, it's collaborating with the MBMC, it's collaborating with others. I think that is the spirit. That is what I think is a success thing. In the SM7, they are collaborating with 7 municipalities in the Leyte Gulf. And also the officials are committed to learning. When we were doing our barangay development planning, the office of the vice mayor supported us by always being behind us. Yeah. What needs or could be done to improve and create more successes? I have 2 messages here, for partners and for volunteers. For partners, or for example, Kinapondan, I think partners should perceive change not in the output of the volunteer, but rather in the assignment of staff to work with the volunteer. I say this because in my situation, I found myself working with my supervisor. But then I think according to the arrangement, there should be also their counterpart who I could be working with. I have my counterpart, but we tried our level best. But I think it should have been more interaction so that we share more skills in that way. So that is my advice. For volunteers, I mean. Volunteers should not be seen to be taking away the work from colleagues or do the task that can be done by the colleagues themselves. It's better that they do the task together. Empowering colleagues is winning more than half the battle towards sustainability. As the first VSO volunteer in Kinapondan, which meant that there were very high expectations. I thought so. To bring development projects as other VSO volunteers had done in other municipalities, because. And then the other thing was the constant fascination whenever and wherever I went, and being called names, you know, by communities, you know, Negro. Some of them would call me Chacos, and would say, "Oh my God!" So you know, it kind of suddenly reminded me of the negative impacts of racism, you know. And just because of my melanin, people think maybe I could be incompetent or irrational or something like that. But publication of which I think my successors, the next volunteers, or even the current volunteers, should absolutely read. I think they should go for things like a document which I recently got from a colleague, from a former volunteer actually. Jamie Davis told me to go to the website called livelihoods.org, and I found something called Livelihoods Approach. And I found very useful information there, which can be used actually to assess the poverty situation in the country, where you're working, and it gives you ideas on how to work with everybody else in order to make some impact. And then there's VSO Philippines Resource Mobilization Toolkit. I think this is a very critical document at this stage when VSO is exiting in 2010. I think the messages which are coming from there is that each organization should try to build its capacity in resource mobilization. We should have a resource mobilization coordinator, somebody a database of donors, you know, so that we get more resources. Of course, we have to set the plans right, and I think there'll be more impact in that way. Of course, there's the need to also to understand the environmental laws, including the local government code. This is very important, because when I came, I used to run around going to the mayor asking, where's the local government? And then you get a very big book, and then sometimes it's being sought by everybody else. But I'm encouraged now. The VSO, I think, has provided something on the CD which has got all these environmental laws. And I think the partners have that already. I'm going to install some of them, if they're not there, in our computer. So if you want, for example, the local government code, you can actually go straight in the computer, see it there. If you want perhaps a text only about a section, you can lift it, use it for the communication, and it's just there. It's very good. And there are so many. The Fisheries Act is also there. I think we have the resources. Now, this is a difficult question, because what would I leave behind as my legacy? It's difficult to think of what legacy I'll leave behind. Probably small things like inspiring people with confidence to develop things themselves. And I think that I may have developed colleagues' capacity to use information and IT for natural resource advocacy and resource mobilization. I mean, I've already started seeing my colleagues very confident. People like Manuaturo, people like Reli, all of them very confident now in just using, you know, basic Microsoft Office applications and stuff like that. This is very critical for resource mobilization. I'm proud that again that yielded us. I think recently we got about 200,000. I think through CBMS, because we want. I'm going to conclude, but I've got some pictures which I'd like to show later. And I'd like to say this. I've had a great opportunity to define who I am, to expand the way I view things, to see the world through other people's eyes, and to incorporate my experiences into the way I think, live, and feel while here in Nakona. So I think I have achieved quite a great deal while here.